Hello everybody, welcome back to part 2 of the Tiny Fibre Studio mid-century makeover. Last episode was all about the yarn storage, so I sorted out the cabinet behind me. That has been really successful. Actually having skeins of yarn there for me to see means that there's been a definite increase in productivity of actually knitting from stash, because when I'm knitting in this chair, I'm looking over and I'm seeing particular skeins and going, oh, actually, I want to make something with that. So that's definitely recommended. What I will say is if you're going to have your yarn visible and not tucked away in plastic storage boxes or bags or whatever, do make sure that you check for moths on a really frequent basis. Every few weeks or so, I take all of those hanks of yarn out, shake them around, which would dislodge any moth eggs that are in there, hopefully. Hoover very carefully afterwards. And you can also get things like pheromone traps and stuff like that. So just be on top of your moth management if you are going to choose a storage option like that. So that's been very, very successful, and I was ready to move on to the second part of furnishing this room, which was to look for some storage units for my fibre and all of my spinning wheel stuff. What I ended up deciding to go for was a system called Ladderax. If you've not come across Ladderax before, it's a British modular storage system that was designed in 1964. It was manufactured in the UK by a company that was actually making beds, and I don't think they ever made any other furniture. But Ladderax was a massive hit. Lots of people had it, so it does come up on eBay. But because it's modular and you can get, drawers and shelves and different types of drop front cabinets and different types of sliding door cabinets, trying to find the exact configuration that I want would mean me being incredibly patient on eBay. And frankly, to me, it just wasn't worth the wait. The chances are that I would have ended up with components that I wouldn't be able to use, and that's a bit of a waste. So what I ended up doing was approaching a company who has a lot of Ladderax in stock, and they will actually refurbish a specific configuration of units for you, which was fantastic. So they stripped and repowder coated the ladders, they've refurbished all the cabinets. So I've got the exact configuration that I wanted, and I don't have any sort of bits left over. So let's go and have a little look at the Ladderax. Here it is, the Ladderax has arrived. It's time to get it all set up. I'm not sure Dexter's quite so sure about this. So it's a pretty simple system to set up. You just get the two ladders and then you join them together with two of those metal bars each. And then each shelf or unit has two grooves in the bottom, and those grooves just fit onto the metal bars. So it's really easy to take apart and reorganise if you need to. I'm just checking that it's level because the floor in this room does slope in various directions, as do the walls, so it's quite hard to eyeball it to see if it's aligned. I've got 3 of the sliding door cabinets, so I want to make sure that the one that's going to be most obvious, the one that you see as you go into the room, is going to have the best wood grain, so that that bit looks the prettiest and the other bits can kind of go in the one on the alcove. So there we go, first one is done. Got a bit of cable management to do around the TV, but it's set up and it looks amazing, I love it. So I've got drawers at the bottom for all the little bits that never really seem to find a proper home. TV, because I do watch TV while I knit, and one of the sliding door cabinets at the top. Onto the second unit, which is going to go in the alcove. The floor here does slope quite a bit, so I'm just using some MDF here to raise it up off the floor until it's fully assembled, and then I can adjust the legs. It's a little bit easier to do that once you've got a couple of units in, because it becomes more stable at that point. Also giving all of these units a bit of a clean out, because there's quite a bit of dust and crud inside them. So this one is going to be for fibre prep. So I'm positioning this at a height where if I'm using combs, it's kind of at waist level. There we go, so that was that one in. The cabinets have these sort of J-shaped pins which fit around one of the bars, go onto the inside of the cabinet, and then they're fixed with a screw inside. That stops the cabinets from tipping over. And then the sliding door cabinets have adjustable glass shelves, and once that's in, I can pop the doors on. One edge of these sliding doors is slightly taller than the other, so that goes into the top of the rail, and then you can just push the rest of the door in. Now to start actually filling up the units. We're going to do the drawers first. The top drawer is going to be mostly for mini spinner accessories. So these are my Acheworks flat pack bobbins, the lace and woolly winder ones. Some yarn labels, very important since I updated all my stash on Ravelry. It's really important for me to keep it updated. Got some Project Life cards here, which I use for recording information about the yarns that I spin to go into my spinning journal. The felt washers for the Acheworks Lazy Kate. Rarely need to use these, but they do need a home. I've got some needle felting needles and also the lace and standard flyers for the mini spinner. They don't fit into the trays exactly, but it'll do, especially if I move the yarn guides around enough. There we go. Incidentally, the trays that I'm using here are the IKEA Ragazar drawer trays, designed for, you know, bedroom drawers and stuff like that. And they come in two different variations. So I've got one version in the top drawers. This one is a different version of that same drawer divider. And the second drawer is going to be for shacked accessories. So bulky maiden and the bulky flyer. The bulky bobbin, only have one of those at the moment. And then standard bobbins, going to go into this section. And high speed bobbins on the other end. And then I've got my whirls there as well. I only have one breakdown bobbin at the moment, so that's going to go in the back of the drawer there. On to the drop front cabinet. So this unit originally came in different configurations. One was a desk with cubby holes for letters. There was one that was for records, one was a drinks cabinet. I went for the empty one with the idea being that I can create an insert for it later. So I can actually build something that specifically fits the things that I need to put in it. And the idea of this is that this is all going to be a fibre prep station. So once it's all fixed and level, I should be able to clamp the combs to it. So I've put it at the right height for that. So I've got my fine carders, then the standard carders and the flick carder. I've got my combs. Then I've also got my clamps here as well. I'm probably going to get some different clamps that aren't metal on the ends, something that'll be a little bit easier on the wood. Onto the first sliding door cabinet. This one is going to be for hand-dyed fibres. This is a combination of stuff that I've dyed myself and also indie dyed braids. Just like my yarns, there's a bit of a colour theme emerging because pretty much that whole top left section is all kind of turquoises. And then the bottom half is all purpley pinks, a little bit of green. Top right section of this cabinet is some cat and sparrow braids, which are beautiful, and I'm planning to use those together, so I don't want those to get kind of mixed in with everything else. So this right hand side of the cabinet is kind of stuff that I've got a specific plan for. Two more sliding door cabinets to go. I'm going to start with the bottom one first. That's going to be carded fibre. I don't have a huge amount of carded fibre in my stash, probably because I like spinning it so much that it gets used up very, very quickly. So all of this is going to fit on just the top shelf. On the bottom shelf, I'm going to put all of my undyed fibre. These are a little bit harder to stack because they're not braided. And I never really want to braid undyed fibre, because If you can possibly avoid manipulating it, then that's probably a good thing. And as I'm sorting through this, I'm finding quite a few bits that I really want to use for blending because they're not things that I think I would use on their own. So I'm putting those aside. I'm probably going to put a little box or something in the Fibre prep cabinet so that when I'm carding or combing, I've got stuff there to remind me that I have things to use with it. So I've decided that I'm going to rearrange these a little bit just so that the lighter colours are on the left and the darker colours are on the right. It's just going to make it easier to remember where they are and to find a specific bit of fibre when I want it. And then finally, dyed tops and blended tops are going to go into the top cabinet. So these are sort of commercially dyed tops, or at least solid dyed. So there is a lot of World of Wool Corriedale. When I first ordered the carded Corriedale, I also ordered a whole load of non-carded, and then I realised how much I loved the carded Corriedale, and now trying to spin through the non-carded stuff is a little bit more tricky. And then 3 lots of John Arbon blended tops, and the bright orange alpaca World of Wool sent me by mistake once. They resolved the issue and told me to keep the orange alpaca, and I've never figured out what to do with it. So a quick final tour of what's where. I've added a couple of things to the top drawer here. So we've got my bobbins up storage bobbins, very handy, and also my Acreworks Lazy Kate on the right hand side there. Underneath we've got the shack drawer, so this is all of the stuff from my matchless. So bulky flyer, bobbins, spare whirls, all of that kind of stuff. And then the bottom drawer is currently empty, there's just a roll of non-slip drawer liner in there which I'll fit later. The top cupboard is all hand dyed fibre. I've got solid dyed tops over here and blended tops on the other side, and the whole top section of that cabinet is completely free. That seems like a screaming invitation to fill it up with something. The drop-down cabinet is for Fibre prep. I've added a couple of boxes here because I kept coming across fibre that I wanted to use for blending. If that had stayed stored in with the main Fibre cabinets, I would have completely forgotten about it. So I've got one box for fibre that I want to use for blending, and one also for the clamps that I'm currently using. And then finally in the bottom cabinet we've got natural tops, so anything undyed, and also carded fibre up on the top shelf. All finished. Not a lot changed at the living room end, apart from adding a rug. The problem with such a weird shaped room is that trying to find a rug that actually fits it is very, very tricky, so I ended up having to go with 4 and sewing them together. But the before and after of the storage end is pretty different. So as you can see, we went from having that Kallax unit and the cat tree to my fabulous Ladderax units that I absolutely love. I would like to add a little bit more in the way of decorative touches, but I need to see how the cats react to it first so that I can figure out where I can safely put things. I would love to be able to get some mid-century pottery, but if the cats can get right onto the top of those cabinets, which you can see Safi trying to work out how to do at the moment, that's probably not going to be a good idea. So there we go, Fibre Studio transformation pretty much complete. I just want to say also thank you so much for everybody who left comments on the first episode. There were some great tips, lots of other people saying, you know, having your yarn visible definitely makes a huge difference. Also people mentioning organising their yarn based on the weight of yarn, so whether it's, you know, 4-ply, fingering weight, worsted, etc. I absolutely agree with that. If you've got the option to be able to store it in that way, that's fantastic. For me, the replacement for that is just having all of my stash catalogued on Ravelry, because then if I see a pattern, I can go into my stash and I can go, right, what have I got in fingering weight that I could use for this pattern? So yeah, I hope that this video has in some way been useful for you. If it has, then I would love it if you would like, comment and subscribe, because all of those things really do help the channel to be reached by more people and to help more people discover this content that might be useful to them. I do have a lot more plans for videos which will hopefully be coming very soon, because I currently have quite a lot of time on my hands. So if you would like to see those, then I will see you again in another video. If you want to find me in between now and the next video, you can find me on Instagram. I am Tiny Fibre Studio on there, and I am Ravelry on Ibex. Hope this was useful. Take care, and I will see you again very soon.